Greetings from the C.M. Russell Museum, and welcome to another installment of the 2020 Art in Action Artist Showcase. I'm Executive Director Tom Figarelle, and we're happy that you joined us. As many of you know, we had to change a number of our events related to Art Week and the Russell Exhibition and Sale. One popular component of all of those events is Art in Action. Art in Action, which many of you know, is a variation of a traditional quick draw, where nationally known artists have several hours to finish a piece of art while interacting with guests. This remote circumstance that we're in doesn't provide you an opportunity to see the artist work on their piece live. It also shortchanges you from the ability to ask them some questions and get to know them. So this show is intended to just provide a little bit of that, a glimpse at some art, but more importantly, a look and a conversation with the artists who are such an important piece of our museum and of Art in Action. We are sponsored by D.A. Davidson, who underwrites Art in Action and all education programming at the C.M. Russell Museum, allowing us to advance the art and soul of the American West. We're joined today by artist Joe Kronenberg. Joe, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. Everything that's going on in the world today, Joe, how are you hanging in there? How are you and family enduring all this?
You know, we're doing good. As you've probably gotten from a lot of us artists, I mean, not a lot has changed from us as far as we're in the studio a lot anyways. So, you know, certainly there's the events that we've missed out on, which has been not too fun. I mean, we always look forward to that and look forward to our time that we're going to spend with, you know, folks like you and the folks that buy our work and enjoy it, and visiting with them is always a highlight of what we do. So we do miss that.
Yeah, by nature of your work, I guess if you're not spending time in your studio, that's a problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Joe, you're well versed with Art in Action. Quick draws or quick finishes you're no stranger to them. But as an artist, what draws you to that format? Why do you like participating in that type of event? Because, you know, really, it seems like you're trying to do some very distinct things. You're certainly trying to work on a piece of art. You're trying to have a conversation. It would seem to me like some of those dynamics could be in competition with each other. Give us a sense of why you like them.
You know, I enjoy the interaction with the people. There's just this dynamic that you get when you're in an environment like that. You know, for example, galleries are a necessity. You know, we couldn't do what we do without them, and they get art in front of people that we would never be able to on our own. But the drawback to a gallery is that once your art is sold, you don't get to meet the people, you don't get to see where it went, you don't get that relationship or that bond established. And so that part I love about Art in Action. You know, the people get to see something kind of come together. We've already got it, you know, pretty much well on its way, which allows us to, you know, just relax a little bit, do some finishing things on it, and actually visit with some people, invite them to your, you know, exhibit space. I've gotten a lot of relationships and you know, art placed in a lot of homes just from the Art in Action. So it's, you know, definitely that's the part that I look forward to, is visiting with people.
So safe to say, Joe, that, you know, some of the conversations that are sparked in Art in Action can lead to collecting relationships, can lead to friendships for you down the road.
Yeah, I can't think of an Art in Action I've done that didn't lead to at least one of those relationships or paintings, you know, being sold outside of Art in Action. So yeah, that's definitely a plus for it.
Well, that's great to hear. And you know, speaking with patrons, you know, I know that they're saying the same thing, is that there's one thing to see and find a great piece of art and have the good fortune of acquiring it, but it's another thing to have an opportunity to visit with that artist and to even see that piece develop in front of your eyes. So yeah. I think it's a nice mutual relationship there.
It is. It's fun. We always have a good time, and you know, there's still a little bit of stress and pressure for you guys. You still got to get your painting done, but you know, it's just great. You see people year after year. They come up, they have a little conversation with you. They move on. They come back, and you know, they always kind of let you know when you're done what a great time they had, and let you know that they enjoyed it, and that's awesome.
Well, that is great. That is great. Well, you know, speaking of relationships, Joe, I can't help but notice the piece over your left shoulder. There's a relationship that is featured in that piece. Would you share a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, this is actually a painting that I was going to have in my exhibit space for the Skull Society at the at the Civic Center. So this is a piece called Being Brave. And it's just kind of depicts a mother with her little boy who's apparently got something, probably a sliver, something in his hand. And she's kind of kneeling down and, like, let me have a look at that. And, and tending to her son. So I liked it because, this happens to be Native American, but it's relatable. Any color of, nationality, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a mother and a son interacting. And it's just the bonus is I enjoy painting Native American subject matter. So I liked everything about this. The lighting worked out really cool. It was fun to do. And that relationship, it got quite a few, I think, comments and thumbs up online too when I posted it. So it was kind of neat feedback to get on it. But I think that was why, because what mother hasn't been in that situation with their little boy or girl. So yeah.
Well, absolutely. No, that's right. I mean, I have 3 small children myself, and I can just look at that piece and visualize my wife kneeling down next to one of them and, trying to give them some support, some assistance. And so, I mean, there's a story there that you can transfer to anybody. But,
right.
Certainly capturing it in the way you do it with the native composition there, I think it's just fantastic.
Thank you. It was a fun piece to do. Yeah, I was really happy with it. It's one of those, like, as artists, we get used to the fact that painting's leaving and it's never coming back. That's the idea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a handful of them that you wish you could probably keep, and this is probably one of them for me. I like the piece, especially we've got little girls and or we raise little girls. They're big now, darn it. But there was a lot of that kind of thing going on at home. So.
Well, Joe, does that happen from time to time where you'll work on a piece and there's something about your finished product that you just feel like, hey, I can't let this one slip out of my hands. I got to keep it. Do you find yourself in that position on a frequent basis? Or, I mean, what is that like?
Yeah, I don't think it happens to me very often. I mean, I've kind of really embraced the idea that, this is how I make a living and this is how we pay the mortgage and whatnot, and kids in college and things. I mean, so you just kind of, you disassociate yourself with it. But there have been a couple paintings where I really probably would have, and could I go back? Didn't have to sell and probably should have kept, pass on to my kids when they're older and things. So
sure.
Yeah, because it's a little bit of you in every piece, it's your creation, so you've got this emotional bond with it. And they don't all resonate like this one. We, as artists, I mean, we try for that, I think, with every painting, but you occasionally get one that you just strike something with, and it says everything that you wanted it to say from your original concept. So, and it gets people emotionally involved, which is obviously what we're hoping to do.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's emotion in that piece, so I think it can't help but elicit emotion from the viewer, from someone looking at it. So, to that point, Joe, share with us, if you could, your creative process. I mean, certainly you have some emotion here. You have kind of a family narrative being played out. But how do you just simply take an inspiration and transfer it onto canvas and ultimately produce artwork out of it?
So my process might be a little different. It didn't start out this way, but it kind of evolved into this. So I started out just painting wildlife, and I've been blessed to venture into some other genres with figurative work and Western, painting Native American and cowboys and things like that as well. So my initial process was to find a picture that looked cool to paint. Right, you had to have the perfect photo and all that, and what I quickly discovered was that wasn't so much creating as it was copying. There was, like, I learned how to render something that looked like I wanted to, but I wasn't telling a story and I wasn't creating anything. I was just kind of, transferring one image to from the photo to the canvas. So what I learned was that if I was going to do this for a living, I needed to figure out how to create and just use that photo as sort of a tool, but not as the end all be all for my painting. So I read it in a book somewhere a long time ago, and I don't remember where, but it's talking about concepts and how that should supersede everything. Like, you should visualize your painting being done in your head and the whole concept before you ever touch your brush to the canvas. And so what I tend to do now, and one thing that people tend to comment on a lot of my paintings, are light, for example. And I discovered that if, let's say I wanted to paint an elk, or a moose or whatever, something wildlife. It didn't make sense to go look for an elk or a moose or whatever to paint, but rather I looked for a scene that people could relate to. And then once I found that scene, or I visualized that scene, or I went out and took photographs of that scene, then I could decide, okay, now I want to put the main character in. What's it going to be? And to me, that's just worked better. You know, I like a scene like this was more about emotion. It was about that nurturing with that interaction with the mother and her son. So I had to have obviously photos that would suit that. And I also, light is a big part of this too. The rim light and things play a big role in the moodiness of the scene. But it's interesting to me that I can, with that way of approaching it, I can take a painting and I could have replaced, for example, a moose painting that a lot of people like with an elk. And because the first thing people tend to comment on a lot of my paintings is, wow, that light's amazing. They don't
Sure.
say that moose is amazing, right? Because they can relate to the light. They've seen it. So the moose then becomes a secondary point of interest almost. And I've just had a lot of success approaching it that way, rather than finding this moose and then beating my head against the wall about, well, what scene am I going to put it in? Find the scene, find the mood first, find the light first, and then find a subject matter to go in it that suits it. So that's just kind of my thought process.
Well, Joe, that is fascinating. And I got to say, from the artists that we've talked to, I would say that you're absolutely right. That is a unique position to come from. When you're thinking about, I'll call it, and I don't know if this is the right word, but maybe the ambiance that you're trying to create in the scene. I know for me, when I look, we have two Russell works in our permanent collection at the museum that I just love. And I love them not so much because of what's going on in them, but because of the light. One is Jerk Line. Which is a wonderful scene. There's a lot of action, but it's a scene certainly from a West that's past. But I tell you, that light seems like it could be in Montana today.
Right, you relate to
Fireboat's
it.
another one. Oh yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, you've seen the light, right? You haven't seen the Jerk Line, but you've seen the light. So.
Right, you have. Yeah, you feel like you've been in that. I mean, if you've spent any time in the West or in Montana, you've experienced that light, so you can put yourself right in that scene. I think that's so, I don't know, that's very insightful. I'd never really, I think, articulated it in my mind before in that matter. So yeah, I appreciate you putting it that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's been kind of, I think, part of my secret sauce, I guess. If we all have our own little, things that we do that make us unique as artists, but that's certainly been one of mine that has, brought me a lot of the success and any of the paintings that have come together that I've had. So.
Well, and Joe, you've had a lot of success, and you've been such a big part of our show every year, both the auction and Art in Action. We just appreciate your support and your friendship at the C.M. Russell Museum.
Yeah, you guys have been, I cut my teeth on the C.M. Russell Museum, and that's what started me out. So I will always support the museum, and I can't thank you guys enough for the support you've given me over the years.
Well, thank you, Joe. Truly, it's unfortunate we can't see artists like yourself face to face, but we appreciate you spending some time with us on this artist showcase. And then hopefully in 2021, we have that opportunity to see you and other artists in person.
For sure. Yeah, I was going to mention to you as well, and maybe you were going to ask this, so I apologize. I'm getting a cart before the horse. But for my Art in Action piece, I'm going to do a sped up video of it. So hopefully you can cut that in here somewhere so people can see the process.
We'd love that. No, that would be great. And people are really curious about the process, because for one, each artist has their own process. And then often I think people are like me and don't have that background or that experience, coming from kind of a lay perspective, if you will, in the art world. So I think folks love to see that. Please do share it, and we'll post it on our social media with this video.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fun to do. Hopefully I don't screw it up now that the pressure's on, right? I got the camera.
Yeah, right. Well, now it's the pressure of Art in Action, right? That's good stuff. You recreated it virtually here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Joe, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this edition of the Artist Showcase. We once again want to thank D.A. Davidson for their sponsorship and support of Art in Action and all education programming at the C.M. Russell Museum. We also want to recognize each of our Additional sponsors for Art in Action who graciously support an artist, those sponsor funds in turn support the museum's mission. Cowboys and Indians magazine has graciously sponsored Joe's participation in Art in Action, and we appreciate their support to our institution as well. So
Awesome.
once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joe. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're out here. Take care.
All right. Take care.